going to start today's Hatha practice on our backs, if that feels okay to you, just like we usually do. So just take your time to move down to the floor. As I said, today's class is going to have a little bit of special attention on our side body, and we're going to move through a moon salutation today, slowly though, so it's not going to have any advanced postures that will require too much from you. So as you're resting here on the earth, let's start to make some connection with our breath. Breathing it in and letting it out. Let it go. Take your time to breathe in and out. Letting things go that no longer serve us today. Let us feel heavy, easy on the earth. Your legs can be long extended down the mat, or they might have gentle bends in the knees. This mindful space that you have set aside for yourself, we're going to keep things nice and quiet there today. So anytime the mind begins loud, the mind begins pulling you away from this space, bring yourself back with the calmness of your breath. Letting ourselves stay with the idea of patience today. If you've been laying on your back and maybe your knees have been bent, let's go ahead and see if we can add a little extension to our legs. Maybe it even feels good to have some extension through the hands and the arms, letting them reach in the opposite direction of your toes. Softening from here, we'll get a nice bend in the knees. And then just start to think about a little cat-cow tilt to the low back. So I know it's going to be difficult for you to see this with me, so I just want you to trust the words that I'm saying. It's coming from my voice. So place your hands on your belly. And as you inhale, you'll feel your belly rise up towards the ceiling. You'll feel the small of your back come away from the earth. And then as you exhale, let the belly button move down towards spine, the small of the back presses into the earth, maybe even a little force into the bottoms of your feet. So just take your time. Let that spine arc and then fall. And just play around with what's happening in your low back. This can be really therapeutic. Through that lumbar spine can be a great way to really condition it, make it feel a little bit more love. All right, staying with this same theme, the next time you inhale, belly rises. And then just bring your right knee in towards your chest on that exhale. Inhale, right foot goes down, belly rises. Hands might even come to the sides of the body. And then exhale, round the spine a little bit, bring the left knee in close. So you will let your spine just kind of take its natural shape when the feet move back to the earth. But then when you hug that knee in, let the low back really kiss into the ground. So just a couple more of these. You should feel a little opening through the hip flexors. This moon salutation has kind of a modified squat in it. We're not going to go as deep as you might sometimes go. So it's nice to have these hip flexors nice and warm here. Start warming those up. Now the next time that you're back on that first knee that you started with, go ahead and leave it hugged in a little tighter. Maybe point and flex the toes here instead of moving so much with the breath. Stay static, stay in one place. Hands shift to the back of the thigh and then just push with your heel up to the ceiling. Give yourself time to roll around this ankle. Point and flex toes. Maybe your head even sways right and left as you let go of some tension in your upper back, and your neck, and your shoulders. And then as you exhale, bring this knee back down into the chest. Give it one more hug, nice and close, and then send it back to the floor. We're going to switch to the other side. So it's all the same movement. Knee into the chest. Take your time. Point, flex toes. Give your breath a little bit more space here. Neck might move around. Shoulders might lift and lower a little bit. And then you can switch the grip. Foot elevates towards the ceiling just as you did before. Space for toes to move, ankle to have time to kind of roll around. And then we'll bring this back down into the body. Nice work. Go ahead and put that foot onto the earth when it feels ready, and then reach the hands up above your head. See if you can let them make kind of a prayer shape, touching hands palm to palm, and then reach the hands up over the head. As you exhale, bring your hands between your knees, feet come up off the earth. Inhale, let the hands go back. My feet aren't going to come all the way to the ground. And then when I exhale, my hands again point right in between my legs. So just a little easy movement here. We're not necessarily trying to make this the biggest abdominal movements we can. You might even crisscross your thumbs to give yourself a little bit more power through your arms, but you're really focusing on low back, kissing into the earth, and a little bit of abdominal focus. Last one at your own pace. Let these feet go all the way down to the ground now. Hands stay lifted up above the head in that prayer shape, reaching to the opposite edge of the room. And then walk your feet nice and long. Legs long, heels down into the ground, maybe even putting your feet side by side, looking as if you were in extended mountain pose. From here, lift head, neck, and shoulders. Keep your feet at center and lean to the right. So you're taking kind of that banana shape that we sometimes take, but this is a reclined or laying crescent shape. So it's like crescent moon that we're going to be standing. It's just here, we're laying completely on the earth. Head, neck, shoulders, arms back to center. And then we're going to take our time to bring it over to the other side. Hopefully you've got space to reach slightly off your mat to the next side. Side body wall is opening. So crescent shape, recline on your back again. To the opposite wall. Perfect. Start to walk head, neck, and shoulders back. And then hands are going to come down. Let your shoulders relax. Walk the heels of the feet up to sit right behind your glutes. Bridge pose. Inhale, lift those hips up off the ground. Create some space between the floor and your back. Resting here, breath is slow, easy, nice and fluid. Maybe your inhale lifts the heels up off the ground, and then exhale starts to lower those hips back down towards the earth. Heels are going to be the last thing to hit the mat. And then from here, I'm just going to lift my right arm up, put it up near my head as I roll my knees to my right hand side, and rest here for 2 breaths. Really make connection with that breath. Let it go nice and fluid. Hands returning to the earth. When you feel ready, press into the ground. And then take yourself to a cat-cow shape. So we're going to find tabletop. Wrists are going to look for positioning right underneath the shoulders, knees under the hips. And you can have whatever direction you want to be down your mat. It doesn't really matter. Take a couple cat-cows just to really ignite some movement through that spine. Remembering that if One shape feels a little better than the other. You can stay there for a moment. You can have a little bit of extra breath anytime you need. Two more. Now this next time when you get to your angry cat spine, sit your hips all the way back onto your heels. Stretch the hands up the mat as much or as little as you feel comfortable with. And let those hips sit back onto the heels, always knowing that we can curl the toes under as well. Walk the hands a little bit more forward. Surrender the chest down into something that looks more like a puppy shape. Then the down dog, if that doesn't sit with you tonight or this afternoon. Just take your time. Let the shapes open up whatever they need to in your back and your shoulders and your hips. Great work. Take your time to bring yourself up towards table again. And then we're going to go to your first down dog of this practice. So hips are going to lift up nice and high and just kind of walk this out. All right, when you feel ready, feet are going to take their time, slowly walk up here towards your hands, hang in forward fold, head hanging down towards the earth. Give yourself maybe a little gentle shake of the head, yes, and no. And then find a half lift, long full spine, reaching the crown towards the front of your mat. Exhale, fold. Long full inhale, sweep your hands forward as if you were going to pause in chair, but then continue to lift all the way to standing. Hands come down and brace your heart. Close the eyes, connect with palm to palm right there at the center of the chest. Full relaxing inhale. Forceful exhale. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Take your time. Half lift. Pay attention to the spine. Let it get long. Exhale, fold. Right foot steps towards the back of the mat. Go ahead and let this right knee find the earth. Flatten the toes down if that feels okay on that back foot. Use the inhale breath. You're going to keep your right hand on the floor. Sweep the left hand up. And turn with the chest towards that front right knee. Exhale, breath, take your time. Let that hand come back to earth. And then invite both hands up next time. Maybe they look for that same prayer shape, touching up slightly above the head, or maybe just out in front of you. Hold for a breath. And then bring your hands back down. We're going to shift weight into this back knee. If it feels okay to change into this shape, feel free to bring your toes up towards the ceiling. Maybe hands go on either sides, or this is a great place for blocks if you have blocks nearby. Give yourself another round of breath, really thinking about the difference with a pointed toe and a flexed toe. Perfect. Start to flatten that foot back down. We're going to step this foot that's at the front of the mat towards the back of your mat. Child's pose or downward facing dog, 3 breaths. Waking back up wherever you've been, whether you've been in down dog or child, we're going to get the other foot forward between your hands. Figuring out what shape works best with toes flat to ground or curled under. This time, left hand stays on the ground, right hand reaches forward and starts to spin so that my chest now faces towards my bent knee. Hand and palm facing in that same direction, allowing that wrist to turn. Hands come back down to earth with breath. And then both reach up for that same prayer. Maybe hands are touching, slightly back, or out more in front. Let those shoulders settle in. Hands fall forward on the exhale and start to shift weight towards your back knee. Hands sliding back the mat, keeping the spine nice and long, avoiding this big arch in the back. Keep it flattened out. Gaze is forward. Again, might be playing around with the point and the flex of this front foot. Shifting from there, front foot's gonna step back, and then optional 3 breaths, just as you did before. Maybe a tabletop, maybe a down dog, or maybe a child's pose. Letting those 3 breaths find their way into wherever the body might be needing that extra space. And then as you feel ready, you're going to meet me back up at the front of your mat. So whether that involves climbing, hopping, small steps, big leaps, whatever's more your style today. Half lift might feel good, or rolling up one vertebra at a time. Let the hands connect above your head, and then slide them into the heart. Perfect. Closing the eyes, palm at palm, thumbs resting into the chest, igniting that breath. Letting yourself feel fierce, strong, connected with the earth. Gentle blinking open of the eyes. You're going to shift on your mat so that your mat is long now, and you're standing right in the middle of it. Now, as we move through some of these poses for this one round of moon salutation, everything's going to be long stretched on the mat. So hands come into the heart. Relax those shoulders down just as you did before. Use your inhale breath to stretch hands up above the head. Exhale, head to right. Just like we did when we were laying on the floor. Give yourself a breath here. Feel long stretch. Inhale, hands back to center. Take your time. Other side. Just as you did before. Long stretch. Back to center. Hands coming apart to a T shape, and then we'll let our feet start to match. Look like a 5-pointed star. Stay nice and long. Maybe even closing the eyes here. Right toes are going to turn off to face the right wall. Setting yourself for a triangle pose, the right hand will start to reach towards that right wall, and then tip yourself into whatever version of triangle you feel most comfortable with. Maybe you fall way down towards this foot, or perhaps you keep it uplifted, making these oblique muscles work a little harder. Staying in that shape just as long as you feel you can. From here, taking the arm that's in the hand, in the air, this arm that's in the air, these back toes and that arm are both going to start to turn in the same direction, slightly forward. When you feel ready, hands can either come to ground on either side of this front knee. You can even put a gentle bend if you need it. Or if you have availability of blocks, you can take a pyramid shape here. Head might hang heavy, nose to knee. One more breath. Not a favorite pose of mine, but I know it's supposed to help a lot do lots of wonderful things for us. Take this back knee, continue to spin on these back toes. Knee is going to drop down into earth just as you did before. Toenails drop to ground. Big inhale, bring it up. Sink in. Let this hip flexor on back leg really have some attention, some time to open as you sink down into the stretch. Beautiful work. Hands start to rotate forward towards your blocks or towards the floor, and then you're going to walk them towards the middle of the room, the middle of your mat here, and you're going to shift everything. This is going to turn into a lunge where this leg comes, left leg is straight. We'll move from that position after a breath or so, just to turn heels in and sink right here. Now we're not going to go as typical deep as you might in a full squat, but if it feels okay and you want to go to a full squat, you certainly can. All right, from here, we're going to repeat everything again. We're just going the other way. So we go from the squat to shift. Opposite leg goes straight, hands come down, look for the earth. Make sure these knees and toes are matching, talking to one another. And then just continue to walk around the world, come around your mat. Low lunge on this side. Knee drops to the ground just as we've done before. Inhale, breath, brings the hands up tall. Relax those shoulders. Allow the hips to move into that front knee. Moving hands back down towards earth. We're going to lift up on these back toes. This back foot takes about a 2 or 3 inch hop in. Plant the heel of the toes, turn slightly outward, and then look for pyramid on this side. So that's a front straight leg, long extended spine, head might fall, nose to knee. And then from here, this is where we rotate into an opening for triangle. So your right hand, or your left hand rather, would stay down towards that foot and start to open up to triangle on this side. Remembering if you need to kind of pull up a little bit, just like I did on the other side, giving that oblique focus. Nice and steady. Perfect. Inhale, breath brings your front arm, so this left arm kind of slides up. Shift the hips back. Turn the toes so that they're both facing the same way. Bend at the elbows and sink. Inhale, stretch those arms out nice and wide. And then hands move up towards one another as your feet walk in. And we'll take it right and left one last time. So find length out through those fingers. Lean to the right. Back towards center. Lean to the left. Back towards center. And then settle these hands right back into the heart. Thumbs to the chest, palm to palm, eyes closed, connection with breath. Gently allowing your hands to come away from the heart, bring them down by the hips. We're going to step the feet about hip distance or maybe just slightly wider than that. My right ear is going to start to fall towards my right shoulder, and I'm going to bring my left hand up and just place it ever so gently on the top of my head. Now this left hand that's out to the side, I'm just going to kind of play with flipping my palm forward and back. So I kind of find a spot that feels like it hits right where I want it in my neck, and then stay there. Use the next natural inhale, head comes back up over spine. Relax the arms down, maybe a big shoulder roll. And then we'll go the other way. Left ear towards left shoulder, maybe the left arm comes up, sets just ever so slightly on the top of the head. And then just as you did before, kind of flipping, playing with that same palm. Until you find that sweet spot where your neck really is getting the attention that it wants. Paying attention to your pelvis, make sure you're not pushing the tail out behind you. You don't want to create that sway back. Inhale, breath, head comes back up, hands come back down by hips. Using the inhale, sweep the hands high to the sky. And then a big exhale, hands are gonna reach out to the sides, knees are gonna bend, ragdoll pose. Forehead and head, drag down, bend the knees, sway right, sway left. Sway right and left. All right, when you feel ready, hands are gonna drop down towards the earth. You're gonna reach with your right hand and place it up here on your right hip. So you're still bent over, your head is still hanging towards ground, but your right hand is on your right hip. Left hand hangs down towards earth. Now on your next natural inhale, I want you to sweep your left hand towards the ceiling as you lift your left knee towards your chest and turn into balance on your right leg. See if you can take this hand that's in the sky, start to slide it down to the side, and then bring it towards the hip, and then lift it back up. So give yourself a point of focus that isn't me. Get off the screen with your eyes, find something on the wall, and see if you can give your arm one more circle. Good work. Give it one more circle. Those of you who went a little slower than me, take your time. If you went a little faster, finish up your circle you're on. And then I want you to take your time when you're ready. This lifted knee is going to come down to the floor along with your arms going into just a nice big T shape. Now the knee that you had lifted, which for me was my left, you're going to turn that knee out to the side and just step yourself into whatever version of Warrior 2 feels good in this spot, in this moment. Maybe a reverse warrior would feel nice, flipping that left hand, leaning away from that knee, giving yourself that long stretch, side wall. Maybe a side angle even here, elbow to knee. Bicep towards ear. Excellent. Let's just take it back to warrior and pause there. For me, I'm going to turn my warrior just into kind of an exalted or reverse triangle. That sounds good in my body. If that sounds good to you, go for it. Otherwise, just stay right there in that warrior 2. And then we'll just ease our way back. Toes will turn forward again. Arms come down and relax. Heel toe in till you're about shoulder distance. Arms reach out to T, and then ragdoll. Holding towards the earth. Head hangs heavy. Sway right and left. arms or hands rather are grabbing at the elbows, or maybe just kind of bracing the earth. We'll start to set ourselves for balance on the other side. With your left hand this time coming up and looking for your left hip. Right hand hanging down. When you're ready, weight shifts. When the right hand comes up, right knee comes up. Maybe it goes out to the side and then down by the hip. And you start making those same circles again. Being proud of however high that knee has been lifted. It doesn't always need to come way up into the stance. Maybe you're even in a toe tap today. All right. Finishing out that last circle you've been playing with. As the foot starts to look for the earth, the arms stretch long. You start to gracefully walk those feet apart as you did before, turning opposite foot to look for our warrior two on this side. Always paying attention to where this front knee lands, making sure it's down in with that ankle. Arms fully extended. If you can see yourself on your own screen, see if you can drop those shoulders a little bit. Front hand flips. Take it to reverse warrior. Let this back arm be gentle. Easing through, maybe finding that same side angle. Arm might come up and over the top, bicep resting by ear. Length out through the fingertips. Settling in, folks. Just take your time. Warrior two might make natural sense pausing here for a few breaths, or if you played with that big triangle shape before, feel free. And then taking arms back out to T, we'll turn both heels towards one another, and then just sink into that familiar kind of lotus shape would have found itself into that moon salutation. Maybe closing the eyes, allowing the hands to feel the energy of the room. Let the breath escape your body. Maybe these are the fullest breaths you've taken all day. Maybe there's just been so much emotional weight, heaviness. Release it here. Easing from this, legs start to straighten, hands come down. Let them just feel the legs as you turn your toes forward, and heels, and toes, and heels. We're gonna step towards the back of our mat now. So walk all the way back to whatever you're gonna call the back of your mat. Reach your hands nice and tall as you were doing in that moon salutation. Lean right again. Lean to center again. Use your breath. Lean left again. And then back to center. Let your hands slowly drift towards earth, maybe swan diving or just easing down with a forward fold. Head hangs heavy before we ignite for that half lift. Long spine, crown is forward, gaze at the mat. Exhale, fold. Hands start to walk slowly up towards the front edges of the mat. And then I'm going to walk you through traditional pigeon today. But if at any point in time this shape becomes too big, we can certainly flip this onto our backs. Right foot lifts nice and high towards the ceiling. And then right knee comes forward towards your right wrist. You might hover here for a moment. Feel the kind of strength through wrists, shoulders, chest, knee drops down, and then just take your time. This back knee touches the floor, and then I kind of do a little knee toe to walk that out behind me. My hips are square up the mat, hands on either side of the knee if it feels okay. Now, of course, if this front knee is angry or the hip is angry, something about this just doesn't sit, you can always fall out of it by bringing that right knee and right hip all the way to the floor, maybe welcoming this knee up a little bit, softening everything just down. Or, like I said, there's always that option to put yourself on the back, taking that shape here instead. Those who are in traditional pigeon, let's stay there for a few more breaths. Maybe you turn it into a sleeping pigeon and you let the chest fall down towards the ground. You let the heart feel heavy, the hips release. And then as you feel ready, your next natural inhale just starts to bring the chest back up, ever so slightly, maybe even lifting chin towards ceiling. And then we're going to shift from this. Option, of course, to just go to tabletop, but you want a little something bigger, you can always curl these toes under and start to lift everything back into that dog shape. Downward facing dog, hips lifting nice and high. Left foot might lift into the sky. Left knee might come forward towards this left wrist. And like I said before, it might hover. Feeling strength. And then lowering into that space. Knee toe, walking that into your version of pigeon. Knowing that we don't want to be sitting on this back heel. So my heel of this bent knee, I know you can't really see it on the screen, but it's at about a 45-degree angle with my mat. Some of us can get the heel up closer to that front wrist, but that's not always the goal. You just want to feel okay in this back hip. You want to feel okay in your front knee. And if either one of those places don't feel real great, since I'm not there personally to walk you through the pose, come out of it. There's no sense in hurting yourself just because there's no one to be watching you. So don't take a shape if it hurts. Knowing that you can always roll this out like I showed before or onto your back, or you can really surrender your chest down towards the earth and take the fullest extension of the pose, resting the chest on the ground. But wherever you are along that spectrum, whether you feel like, you know what, I wish I had a pillow off my couch, stick underneath this back hip, or have one under my arms, go ahead. You can always come out of the shape to reach for something if you'd like to have it nearby as an option. All right, my friends, hands are going to come on either sides of the body. Start lifting the chest back up, maybe holding that slight back bend here, maybe even lifting the chin. Only if that feels okay, the hips, the spine, the back. And then transition. Maybe you have one more down dog in you, maybe not. You decide. If a down dog is still an available shape for you, go ahead and lift those hips up. Put yourself into that down dog shape and take plenty of time to really let this walk out. You might decide that separating your feet about hip distance on the mat Swaying the hips side to side feels good. Maybe you want to lift one foot and bend the knee and open extended more angles of your hip. Or you can always take a softened version. Big toes to big toes, hips sit back on heels. Wide knee, child's pose. Now, if you've been in down dog, let's take our time to ease down towards the earth. Look for that child's pose for about 4 more breaths. This might be a great opportunity to widen the knees. Look for a prop, perhaps, to put underneath your forehead. Really surrender your body down towards the earth, maybe even putting a little extra focus right in the middle of the forehead, maybe massaging right in that third eye as a way to release any tension that might be hiding in the face. Sometimes it's nice when we're in our child's pose to explore a little bit of your facial muscles as well. So opening and closing the mouth real wide, or shifting the jaw from right to left, scrunching the nose, or squinting the eyes. Movements to allow those facial muscles to come into recognition, come into a place where we know they're working, they're engaged, but then let them relax. Finishing up in this shape, we'll take our time and start to bring hands underneath of us, lift up out of child's, put the knees back underneath of you. Maybe a cat-cow would feel nice. And then I'm just going to continue to let my knees crawl forward towards my wrists until I feel like I can either sweep the legs underneath of me or out to the side and come onto my seat. I'm going to move myself about 3/4 of the way down the mat so that I do still have a little bit of space behind me. My legs are going to be fully stretched. Now I have various equipment in my room, a blanket, a bolster, blocks. If you have any of that you'd like to have nearby so that when you go to Savasana, you have the equipment to get you comfortable, go ahead and reach for those things. Maybe it feels good to just kind of walk the knees out here a little bit. We're going to take one more seated forward fold before moving back to our backs. So I'm going to pull kind of the extra meat out from underneath of me, let my sits bones really make connection with the earth, and then reach my hands high up towards the sky. Exhale, hinging at the hip creases where your top half meets your bottom half. Let the hands drape maybe on either sides of the legs. Maybe they grab the feet. They, of course, don't have to. The spine is long. Perfect work. When you feel ready, the inhale breath brings your spine up tall. Let the feet start to walk in a little closer to you. And then option to insert a boat pose here. If you'd like an additional strengthener for abdominals today. Feet can lift up off the earth, maybe one or both at a time. Hands can also just come back here and be supported on the earth, or of course you can take fuller extensions with extended arms or extended legs. To some restrictions I have in my own physical body, I won't be showing you the fullest extension, but if that's where you feel comfortable going, feel free to allow the upper body to slowly round just a little bit towards your knees, engage those core muscles. And then start to soften. Hands might reach for the backs of the legs to soften you down to the earth, or you might roll back, depending on how your abdominals are feeling. You may need a little more help. And then just start to get comfortable. Maybe a blanket feels good underneath the head or the neck. If you're lucky enough to own a yoga block and you have one handy, it might feel nice to block up the lowest part of your spine, maybe on a higher setting or on a lowest setting. If you have a pillow handy off the couch or a blanket, you can roll that up and slip that underneath your hips as well, as a way just to put a little extra support there. Your low back did a little bit of work today, so if it feels like it needs a little therapy, placing something underneath of it can feel really nice. If you get to a comfort level where you want to lift one or both legs up off the ground, whether you have a lift under your back or not, that might feel nice. If you don't have the luxury of putting a lift under your back and your legs feel kind of achy there, you're certainly welcome to use the side of a bed, a couch, a chair, or a wall to put yourself into legs up the wall. Whatever comforting inversion that you have chosen today, let's try to stay there for about 5 more breaths. If you have just chosen just a basic bridge, or just to lift your feet in the air and use the backs of your hands to support your thighs, both of those are great options. Or if you'd like to move a little closer to something else in the room where you can throw your legs up on a chair, a couch, or wall, feel free. Now, those of you who have just gotten to a place of rest, take another couple breaths. Those of us who've been here for a little while, maybe you start exploring with bent knees, or pointing and flexing toes. And then I'm going to give you an option. If you'd like to stay wherever you've landed for the next 5 or 6 minutes, feel free to treat this final shape you are in as your savasana. If you think you'd rather roll out of that shape and create more of a traditional savasana, feel free. Remembering that traditional savasana looks like legs full down the mat, hands equidistant away from the hips with the palms flipped towards the ceiling, shoulders kind of nestle out from underneath of us, and then the breath just becomes slow, easy. Take your time to explore whatever final shape you might like here for your final rest. If you've been listening to music, you've had it going in the background, either turn down the volume or just kind of reach for your phone or your device to turn on something a little softer, maybe even spa themed. And then it's time to make everything get quiet. Now we know that oftentimes when we quiet our physical body, that's when our mind has the most opportunity to get loud. If your mind is starting to swirl and send in sorts of emotions and feelings, thoughts that get you racing, remember the power that you have in just simple, easy, full, deep breaths. Let's tap into that breath. Remembering that your inhale breath is full, allowing your belly to expand away from the floor. And your exhale breath is soft, letting that belly button fall back down towards the earth. Taking your time to stay in this space for a few more moments, and then I'll wake you from here when it's time to conclude class. Slowly starting to become aware of your breath. Stay rested comfortably in the position that you're in. Your breath is there as the anchor to this moment. While your mind can be like a boat, prone to drifting off to sea, the sea of your thoughts, emotions, and anxieties. The breath is there to pull it back. For most people, the mind is floating off constantly, but pausing to feel the physical sensation of your next breath as it moves in and out brings you immediately back to the here and now. That shift from distracted to aware is literally only one breath away. She took a breath in and let it go. On your next inhale, try counting slowly. 1, 2, 3. Pause. Exhale slowly, counting again. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Pause. Exhale. Allowing gentle movements to come into the body through a wiggling of the fingers, a wiggling of the toes. She took a breath in and let it go. Let the fingers turn into more movement through the wrists, the arms, maybe even bringing the right arm up, letting it serve as a pillow. If you've been flat on your back, rolling to that side. If your legs have been up the chair, the wall, just take your time to ease back to the earth. Taking whatever natural movements make sense to bring you to a seated posture. We'll take our time when we find our seat to bring hands together, palm to palm, maybe even bringing the thumbs to rest at the chest. Closing the eyes and tapping into that breath one last time. She took a breath in and let it go. I hope today's practice was just that for you, an opportunity to take nice, full, easy breaths in, and then use the exhale as a release to let it go. Thank you again for joining us on the mat, not only for physical movement, but time for your mind to sift as well. May you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you again. Namaste.